Damn, Restream is so small. Chat. I'll put it up here. Oh, fuck. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live again. For Caroline Leavitt's exciting White House press briefing. This is set to start in just 3 minutes. We are ready, Ivan. Shit. I might get kind of screwed on this, so I bought fuck, hopefully I can sell these. So I bought some stock market today before the market tanked. I don't like this strike, FYI. So nobody, I would not recommend buying this. Trying to sell out of it. Let's see. Any value at post? There's like a lot going on that Caroline can cover today. Dang, shutdown is pretty cheap. Went all the way to 13. Let me see if White House stream is up. But I mean, she has like the Saudi deal to talk about. Epstein's going to be a ton of questions. There's like a lot for her to cover today. I do right now currently just have a longer shot play. It's like the only thing I'm holding right now on shutdown. No. I mean, it's probably going to come up, but there's a chance it gets dodged. I loved stock market, yes, earlier today when, you know, S&P was flying high, like up 3%. And then, of course, it does a complete reversal in like a few hours. And now I'm stuck holding stock market, yes. JD Vance used that as a talking point in his latest speeches. Trump's been using that as a talking point. But now that the market just did a complete reversal, I'm definitely not very bullish on stock market yes anymore. So a little unfortunate that there's this huge reversal in the market. But, you know, what are you going to do? Can't control it. So but I did like strikes like ICE no, but this is completely flipped. It was closer to 40. I should have just market bought. What's up, Audie? Now it's moved back up to like 65 on no. Damn. Thanksgiving no is somewhat attractive. I could get it in the 20s. But I will probably... Oh, dang, I'm zoomed out so you guys can see my leg positions. I would like illegal alien no. I've had a bid up all day, never got filled. But I think a lot of the stuff she normally says, like ICE, tariff, I think this is going to focus more on the economy, Epstein. Um, honestly, Hoax seems like almost undervalued, but there's just going to be heavy focus. Obviously, Trump just officially signed to release the Epstein files that passed the House and Senate
last year as a jobs report skyrocketing with 119,000 private sector jobs being reported as it shattered expectations once again. Americans are joining that workforce, the military succeeding its numbers and its recruitment arenas, as well as an economy that can really shine come Q1 or Q2 of next year, according to Secretary Scott Bessent. Now, here's what you need to know. The September's job report more than doubled economists' expectations. The job growth was driven almost entirely by private sector job gains of 97,000, including 43,000 new jobs in the healthcare sector, 19,000 new jobs in the construction sector. American wages up 3.8% over the year. Since President Trump took office, workers' real wages are up $700 and are on track for a $1,000 increase after his first year, so post-January.
Let's see how late she is. But
Americans are on track to make up
she's going to get a ton of Epstein questions, for sure.
Wage loss that was under Biden administration.
Turn down.
Americans are working. The labor force participation increased.
What's up, Semper?
Weekly hours for production workers increased, and long-term unemployment fell sharply. Proof that a growing share of the American people see the opportunity in President Trump's.
Damn, dude, this came up to 30s.
Now, under President Trump, all
Fuck.
job gains have gone to native-born Americans, reversing the Biden-era trend. Over the past year, more than 2.5 million native-born Americans gained employment, while 670,000.
How often does she use Hoax? Hoax seems kind of kind of attractive in the 70s, 80s potentially. Let me see.
Another amazing statistic when you really break that down. There is more good news to come, with the Atlanta Fed GDP Now model now projecting blockbuster 4.2% GDP growth, a figure for the third quarter. That means
I'll put up a bid for Hoax at like 72.
So here's what they're saying out there. Economist Steve Moore. I think people are underhyping this economy big time. I mean, we're seeing huge investment numbers. We're seeing great consumer spending numbers. I am very happy about this report, and I think investors should be too.
She used Hoax last speech, Semper.
Heading into this historic government shutdown, the job market
And they're going to
is
obviously
healthier than we thought. The
talk all
expectations
about
was initially 50,000 new jobs to be added in the month of September.
Epstein,
We got more than double
in which case
that.
she'll probably be yelling like
CNBC
this is a
stated
hoax.
This report really bolsters the case for the hawks on the FOMC, who have said they do not see serious deterioration in the labor market. A robust report. Bloomberg, that's a big upside surprise.
Turkey, yes. This will probably be the last briefing till Thanksgiving, but we'll see.
Strategic Wealth Partners CEO Mark Tepper, not only is the consumer still spending in America, the consumer is paying their bills on time.
All right, White House
Look
stream
at
is up.
Credit card delinquencies, they're only at 1.3% and they're ticking lower. That's a good situation for the overall economy. The New York Times.
Here, I'll pull it in. Okay, 18.3. I like it. Okay, that's what I'll say. But I don't want to be too loud about that strike because I need to buy positions. But yeah, I think that's a good play. Have I got any. But I don't know how high I'd go. I mean, I'm just getting some cheap ones, some cheap lottos. Maybe just so I don't regret it, I'll just get 500. Let's see. Just a little sprinkle there. It's a very unlikely strike, but to your point, that's why I had a bid up 18.3. Is 500 usually your max strike for limit orders, or do you calculate limit orders purely by cost basis? That's definitely not my max. I will do, like, especially if I have like a good conviction play, I'll definitely do higher prices higher sizes if I can. It's just like for markets like this, I will kind of slowly size up into things. But like I'll go as high as like, for announcer markets, I've had NFL announcer markets like $8,000 on a single game. I've had for like the Powell FOMC speeches, I've had, $4,000, $5,000 on them. So just depends on like conviction, how much I like the strikes. But when I'm usually getting into the plays, I won't throw up like a huge limit order. I don't know. Maybe part of that's because if you put like a giant limit order, people just penny jump you naturally, because maybe it gives them like confidence that somebody's has a big order up. I don't know. So I do kind of try to size in with like smaller orders here and there. All right, let me pull this stream in. I gotta chat too. I guess I'll make this smaller. Move chat up here. Oh, I didn't even have chat open, so it's not. Trump is pardoning a turkey next week. Yeah, I thought about that. That's why I didn't play Thanksgiving no and Turkey no. Probably a decent chance she mentions that as being like on the schedule. All right, perfect. Pull this over here. Just have this set so I can pull all my orders. Hey, look at that, by the way. I lost 750 yesterday in the whatchamacallit speech, and then I made all of it back. Mostly on this Gemini play. So AI is back. We had Gemini 3, so it got spicy again. This one was like pretty easy play. I just was shorting Gemini to break 500. Whenever a new model debuts on Ella Marina, it's very rare that its ELO score will increase after the initial score. Usually it always decreases. So Gemini 3 came in at like 1490 something. So it was like super close to 1500. People were betting on it to cross 1500 after more updates. We were able to take no shares at 25 cents, which was insanely priced. And I entered that yesterday or 2 nights ago. And we just sold out at close to 60 cents. So made a nice $1,000 there. So we're back. We're still, what's my profit? What's my total profit? Let's see. Yeah, so we're up 2,200 this week. So we're still getting there. Goal is always at least 3K a week. But I mean, we'll see. There's still a lot left. Like the NFL announcers, I could lose some money here if this doesn't go my way. I am sizing up there a bit. All right, let's see, Caroline. How late will Caroline be? I should start trading these. How long will she speak? Maybe I could get some cheap shares on no. Alexander, I still haven't looked into the Google search markets. I really freaking need to this weekend. I'm going to do it this weekend. I'm going to look at them this weekend because I have a ton of cash. I need to start bonding stuff. I have like 45K in cash right now that I need to put to use. And I always hear those Google search markets are stupidly mispriced, but I feel like I'm kind of late to get into them because I think like a month ago when there was all this buzz around them, they were like stupidly mispriced. I just haven't had time to look into them. But I need to bond some more stuff so I can just like put, especially for these end of year markets, just to make a little bit of like, income. So I want to look into Google search market pretty closely. I mean, the two things on my radar are looking into Google search markets and then also looking more into the culture markets like Spotify and stuff. Just want to understand how Grande does it. There's like no liquidity in this market. I'm not even going to bother. All right, she's already 12 minutes late. She'll probably be at least 30 minutes late. What's up? NSHRD. So no one shut down? Yeah, but guys, just like remember, I'm getting this at 21 cents. So like if you were to buy no shutdown at 34 cents, that's a totally different story from me getting in at 21 cents. So like, yeah, I like no one shutdown at 21 cents. It's more likely than not it's going to get said. But just remember that whenever you're like looking at stuff. Because like, sure, you can see I'm on no shutdown and maybe you like want to buy no shutdown. But like, if you're going to do that, do a limit order, and put it at like 24 and see if you get filled there. Because like, if you just like market buy stuff, you're just going to get terrible prices. And, it's not going to be great. That's honestly why I don't really even like posting like, oh, I'm the guy that, I don't know, maybe people bought it after watching this. But just realize that, guys, make sure you're doing limit orders. Limit orders are the best. All right, Caroline. Let's see how late she is. Good morning, contingency. What about stock market? Adi, I did like stock market originally when it was up like 2% this morning because that's been like a big talking point. Oh, I got some fills here. It's been a really big talking point. I mean, you can see I sold out minus $51 because the market completely tanked. So she could still say it, but if the market was up like 2% on the day, which it was this morning with NVIDIA earnings, and Vance is using it as a talking point, Trump is using it as a talking point. Although she doesn't say stock market frequently, felt like that was like now part of the Republican talking point and Caroline was going to say it. But then the stock market completely reversed. So maybe they don't want to talk about it. She could still say it, but I sold out of my position. I don't feel good about it. So I took a loss, of course, because the freaking market flipped 3%. Do I think mentions are the best market for a newer prediction market trader to hone in on? I don't necessarily think mentions are like the best. I mean, they're pretty great. I think the main thing I would say is if you're new to Kalshi is like don't like trade sports markets if you're trying to like truly be profitable. Like I would not recommend like if you think you can make money long term by saying, oh, Texans are playing the Dolphins, oh man, I was doing research and I think the Texans are better, like you're never going to win long term. So like I would say, yeah, mentions are a great category because mentions are lower liquidity and they're not as sharp. Like there's not like highly designated market makers trying to like, so there's a ton of opportunity on mention markets. Like it's stupid how much there is sometimes. So yeah, they're a great thing to start on, but they're also becoming very sharp because people are publicizing it a lot. But also there's a lot of new people coming in who maybe won't be as good. But so I guess TLDR, I just think if you're starting out, you should A, don't do anything in sports like in picking games, and then B, find something that is a niche that you're very knowledgeable on. That would mean like since you're so knowledgeable on it, you're totally happy like reading everything you possibly can about that niche and following it super closely. My advice if you're new to trading on prediction markets is to just news trade for a while. So pick a niche that you follow very closely, understand like what news releases are coming out that's going to impact the niche, and just trade based off of that, right? So like if some breaking news comes out, like last night, right, that Trump signed the Epstein bill, like that's a breaking news that impact a lot of markets. If you were first to react, you could have made a lot of money. So just coming in, finding a niche you really like, and then getting dialed in on all the news around that niche, setting up notifications, and then just news trading. And then it's very low risk, and like you can make a lot of money doing that. I mean, Carr, you know, who's made like 700K, like he's a known just pretty much news trader, you know. Lately, the liquidity in these mention markets have been low. Do you think this will pick up? Mention markets are kind of always like this. Like the order books are pretty illiquid, but a lot of volume happens, and a lot of volume happens during the event. So I don't necessarily think this will pick up in the sense of like having deep order books, but you know, people will throw up bids. Like that's why, like I said, I just recommend using limit orders because like I can get. I mean, it's not crazy size, but like, look, I can get 1,000 shares pretty quickly on shutdown no by throwing a limit order up and keeping it up for like 15 minutes. Saudi Arabia, would I play that strike? Probably a pretty good chance of that coming up. I don't know if Leave It calls Saudi Arabia anything different. Yeah, Loom, I definitely feel that way on mentions. They're definitely getting sharper with like a ton of like really strong players coming in. It used to be like a small group of people that I'm in a close chat with that we talk about a lot of mentions, but now it's like there's so many new really sharp people coming in, like that guy Esoteric Catboy that I always talk about, which I highlighted him when he was at like 10k profit, but that kid's so sharp, and he's now at like 50-60k profit. So it's always scary seeing new, even younger people coming in and just overtaking your game. Sports and economics are full of sharps. Yeah, that's probably true. Definitely sports. Anytime a niche gets higher liquidity, it's going to be sharper, right? Because the incentives are higher. So like if you're a good participant or if you're like a sharp, right, you'll make a lot of money if you're right. Man, healthcare no is kind of interesting. What structure do I recommend when I'm live betting these events? I mean, you can do IOC. That's fine. I usually just like monitor limit orders. The only risk, Loom, is like when I'm live trading, I'm not going to put up a limit order to buy no shares, right? So no shares I will almost never buy with a limit order because, guys, when you put a bid to buy no shares, you're really offering liquidity on yes shares. And obviously, if you have any delay on a mention market, and the word gets said and you have like a few seconds of latency against someone else, they're just going to immediately bond your bid. So it's kind of risky putting up any bids for no shares. I would only ever put bids for yes shares. And then if you want to buy no shares, just wait till it's a favorable price to market buy. So that's my advice. Just never Never put up limit bids on no shares during a live mention market. Okay, here we go. Coming out. What is this live view? All right. Oh, fuck. Let me cancel my orders. All right, Caroline. Let's rip. Huh. I wonder if someone's gonna... I'll risk $4 that she's actually late. But I'll pull this as soon as I can see her. Oh, she's out.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Here she is. Let's go,
I brought
Caroline.
a very special guest with me today, as you can see, Secretary McMahon. So I will begin my remarks. She's going to speak, and then we'll take some questions. She'll take questions, and I'll take questions from you as well. First off, yesterday, First Lady Melania Trump and Second Lady Usha Vance traveled to Marine Corps Air Station New River in Camp Lejeune in North Carolina, where they spent the day meeting with students, educators, military families, and United States Marines. Both the First Lady and Second Lady were grateful for the warm welcome and remain deeply committed to supporting military families and the communities that serve our great nation. May God bless all of them. In economic news, the September jobs report showed the American economy remains strong, with 119,000 new jobs added, more than double expectations. These gains came after the summer passage of President Trump's historic tax cuts and multiple big trade deals with countries around the world. In particular, construction jobs surged by 19,000 in September, the largest monthly gain in a year. Nearly all of this solid monthly job growth came from the private sector and went to Americans rather than foreign-born workers, the opposite of what we saw under the previous administration. Inflation also remains under control, and wages are up by 3.8% over the year for American workers because of President Trump's pro-growth policies. In fact, real wages are on pace to increase roughly $1,200 for the average worker this year under President Trump. This is a complete reversal of the failed Biden era, when we saw inflation skyrocket
a
to
few
9%,
seconds behind,
causing private sector workers to see their wages decline by approximately $3,000.
Whatever.
We know that Americans are still hurting from the 4-decade high inflation caused by Joe Biden and the Democrats, but President Trump is making significant progress to fix this, and he will not stop working until he solves it. As the president recently stated, he is never satisfied. For example, President Trump's policies are working to make Americans' Thanksgiving more
Thanksgiving.
affordable from their commute to
Where was that last
Nearly 100
leave it
million Americans
speech?
are expected to drive next week to spend time with loved ones for the holiday. And thanks to President Trump's Drill Baby Drill agenda, the national average price of a gallon of gas on Thanksgiving Day is projected to be at the cheapest price since the COVID
She still hasn't said
pandemic in
turkey.
2021. President Trump is bringing down gas prices and providing significant savings to American families at the pump. And again, we expect those prices to continue to decline. According to the American Farm Bureau Federation's annual survey, cooking Thanksgiving dinner will also cost less this year than it did last year and is down about 5% overall. The average price for a staple of the meal, a 16-pound frozen turkey, is down more than 16% from last year, which will provide critical savings for families and their budgets. President Trump's entire economic agenda is aimed at putting
Turkey
more
was such a
money
bond.
back into the pockets
I had that, but I
of
lost on
working
it last
Americans.
week, so it scared me.
That's why he signed the largest middle tax cuts in history into law, from no tax on overtime, no tax on tips, to no tax on Social Security. And according to a new study from Piper Sandler, which is out this week, tax filers can expect an extra $1,000 bump to their tax refund next year, and what could be a record-breaking tax refund season. So there is more good news to come. We know these refunds will make a huge difference for Americans to help pay down their bills and use towards life's expenses. In other news this week, President Trump took a significant step
in
toward
other news?
delivering on a core campaign promise to finally close the Department of Education. To shrink the bloated federal bureaucracy, the Department of Education just entered into new interagency agreements with 4 agencies: the Departments of Labor, Interior, Health and Human Services, and State. These agencies will now ensure the delivery of legally required programs while also refocusing them to better serve students. This common sense action brings the Trump administration
I want her
much
to
closer
wrap this
to
up,
finally returning
wrap up the
education
opening, give it to
where
this other
belongs,
chick to
at
talk.
the state and local level, not in Washington, D.C. The Democrats' reckless 43-day government shutdown.
There it is,
managed
shutdown.
To do
Damn
one
it.
valuable thing. It proved that America does not need
Wonder
a
if she
federal
survived
Department
on
of
the
Education.
opening, would have been
During the
good.
longest shutdown in history, the Department of Education furloughed 90% of its staff, and America's education system was not impacted whatsoever.
I would easy back.
Schools stayed fully
If
open
Epstein
across the
comes up,
country.
it's going to be
Students
during
attended
Q&A.
class and received
I don't
normal
think she's
in-person
going to
instruction,
highlight it in
and
the
our
opening.
wonderful teachers received their paychecks uninterrupted. The Democrats' government shutdown made it painfully obvious that American families do not need the Department of Education. Since its creation in 1979 during the Carter administration, the Department of Ed has spent over $3 trillion taxpayer dollars without improving student achievement, despite pure pupil spending having increased by more than 245% since the 1970s. Math and reading
Did you have
scores
turkey?
are
No,
down in
Jack?
public schools. In fact, the most recent Nation's Report Card from 2024 showed that 13-year-olds' math scores are the lowest they've been in decades, and their reading scores are the lowest since testing began more than 30 years ago. It's clear that throwing more money at a broken system does not work, and that's why President Trump appointed the amazing leader behind me, our Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, who is making these monumental changes at the direction of the president. We're very grateful to have you here today to talk about these changes and then take some questions. Hopefully folks in this room will have some questions on the very important topic of education. So please, Secretary.
Man, okay, it's going to be the secretary talking for a while, so I'm going to mute it. But if we had just survived opening with no shutdown, darn. But yeah, she highlighted it towards the end. We were looking good for a while. Interestingly, she didn't really even talk about the whole Saudi deal and stuff. So after this, I guess she's going to go to Q&A. New York mayor. I don't know. I didn't look at that strike. Interesting how high it is. But hopefully they ask her a lot about, hopefully some stupid questions. I know. She doesn't say this strike frequently at all, but the whole thing is like if they keep asking about Epstein, there's a chance that she could wiggle it in. That's why I have a sprinkle there. Wow, ballroom is super high. Supreme Court's also super high. Amazing how much ice flipped. You're holding stock market. Are you cooked? Oh, Mom Donnie meeting Friday. Okay, that explains it. I think you're cooked on stock market, to be honest. Honestly, are there still no shares on stock market? I mean, only 88. Yeah, I don't see her mentioning. I mean, I sold out after the whole reversal we saw this morning. China, yes, was easy? What do you mean, Timothy? Dang, hoax is getting kind of cheap. Holy. $40. What? What is this market maker doing? All right, I guess I'm pretty loaded on hoax now. You sold your yes on shutdown? I mean, I don't know. I'd be shocked. How did the reporters not, in the Q&A, how are they not going to like ask all about Epstein? She kind of got through the opening remarks in talking about shutdown without mentioning healthcare. What else would she say that's going to center on healthcare?
For the secretary,
All right,
if you
Q&A.
have them. Elizabeth, why don't you start?
Thank you for joining us. You announced the partnership to move some functions of the Education Department to other agencies. Are you talking to members of Congress about codifying this so that it lasts beyond the administration?
Yes, we started our conversation, and thanks very much for asking that, because there have been some reports that Congress is in the dark on this. That's clearly not true. We've been talking to, I've talked to dozens of members of Congress to explain to them exactly what we're doing, to bring them up to speed, and to say to them, look, when we have completed some of these transfers that are working incredibly well, then we will be looking to Congress to codify those, make them permanent.
Brian.
Thank you. Secretary McMahon, what is the update on the negotiations with Harvard? I know the president has publicly pointed to you as somebody who's worked on that. I think you've talked about that at length, but I'd like to understand, where are things with those negotiations with Harvard this time?
They're ongoing negotiations, and I feel very comfortable that we are getting close to having those negotiations finalized. It's been open door conversation all along.
It's always great when there's a ton of...
Deanna?
Hello, Mrs. Secretary. The President recently posted about establishing a federal standard for AI. Do you know if the administration has a view on the use of AI for students in schools? And Caroline, do you know if the President personally uses AI?
I don't think so.
You can handle that
I've never
one.
witnessed it, so I can't attest to that.
Well, I do think AI is going to need guardrails, but I have witnessed AI firsthand. I was at the Alpha School in Austin, Texas, and the first 2 hours of every day in that school, students are learning through AI. They have their headsets on, they're in front of their screens, and the AI is really acting as like an individual tutor for those students, allowing those students that can progress faster to do that. Those who need a little catch up, it refeeds information to them. And so after those 2 hours of learning, the basics of what they're doing in their curriculum.
Wow, some of these
that
prices
day,
are tanking.
Then they spend the rest of the day, I mean, they have good recess and all of that time, but then they spend the rest of the day in what are called life skills, and they're actually using the information that they've learned this morning. So I've seen some AI in action that is really proving quite beneficial.
Michael.
Thank you, Caroline. Secretary McMahon, as the Education Department.
How many
continues
questions
pare
are they going to
down,
ask to
can you talk
McMahon
about
instead of
taxpayer
Carol?
services like charter school grants and how the department will continue to assist kids with special needs?
Well, we are going to make sure that there's no interruption in getting that grant money out the door. I mean, that money is it comes from Congress. It's appropriated by Congress, and we legally are obligated to do that. And the transitions we're starting to make, our first programs that went over to the Department of Labor, that was a few weeks ago. We actually signed the first interagency agreement, which we accomplished under the authority of the Economy Act. We transferred grants for WIOA and for the Perkins Act. And the really good news is that the Department of Labor has a much more sophisticated system, technology system and grant fulfilling system than the Department of Education does. As a matter of fact, our executive manager that went over with that group over to Labor said he would
How many
compare
questions is she going to
what
take
the
away
labor
from
system
Caroline's
is
time? Maybe she
to
just doesn't want to talk about
education's
anything
like
Epstein
held together
related.
by bubble gum that is not connected to any other part. So we were able to get those grants out the door more smoothly, and states have actually better access for those systems than they do at the Department of Education. So that's a real bonus.
Take a couple more. Carrie, go ahead.
As far as the diversity, equity, and inclusion new regulations that came out from the administrations, a lot of schools, whether high school or even higher education is concerned, some of them are defying these new administration policies, even apparently according to a new report.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Rick.
As far as there's been a new report from the administration saying that half of medical schools are defying the administration when it comes to DEI policies. What type of action will the administration take for these schools that are defying the new DEI policies?
Well, certainly the President has been very clear, and the Department of Education has taken measures to make sure
I don't
that
know,
as,
John Jung. I just would be
schools are
so
developing,
shocked.
their policies, or if they have open DEI offices, they're closed, or DEI
Buy war bonds. I don't see a world where she says stock
regulations and
market.
rules are stripped, from their programs, and so that will continue.
She doesn't even say stock market normally, but
One more.
with it.
Go ahead.
Thank you,
Okay,
Caroline.
one more for
Secretary
McMahon, and then Carol's going to
my
answer.
question
Honestly, John
is,
Jung,
since you said
I would
3 out of 10
I would buy
students
cheap Epstein
are
yes shares
literate
before I
with
bought no
regard to
shares at
their
this point.
reading capacity. Would now the states help to improve those numbers?
I wouldn't
since
buy
we're
the no
going
long
back
shot
to the
personally,
states?
but maybe I'm crazy.
Well, what
I just
we are finding that the
you
states
have
that
to
are
think
making great
so many
progress,
reporters are gonna.
it's through
I
their
don't
own
know.
innovation.
But maybe she says
not
like it's a
coming from
hoax
the
instead
Department
of.
Education. I think the Department of Education is really misunderstood about what our function is. We don't teach one student. We have nothing to do with the curriculum that are in any
Anything can happen though. Go for long
school.
shots if you want. I
That's
don't
where
have any
money
skin in the
is
game
appropriated by Congress
on
to get,
Epstein.
to the states. But what we have seen in those states that have taken that initiative,
I
and
just
they
wanted to
are,
start talking and
embracing
answering
the
questions.
science of reading and returning that into their school programs. Louisiana has done it. Mississippi, they call it the Mississippi Miracle, because they were like, I think, bottom or next to last in reading proficiency in Mississippi, and now they're like middle of the pack, which has been a really big jump. Florida has, Iowa has, Tennessee. So, but these are innovations that are done at the state level. This is not anything we're dictating, and that's why I'm saying returning education to the states, where they really are already leading in their education endeavors, and 90% of their budget they provide. The federal government only provides 8 to 10% of the budget for education, so let's make sure that that grant money that's coming from the federal government is
Okay, I
getting
don't
in
mind
their
that
hands
play,
as
Jack.
efficiently as possible and getting
Because
the
if she
students.
wants to dodge an
We don't want
Epstein
teachers having to
question, she
spend
could just call it a
their
hoax
time
and
money
not
in
answer it. So
regulatory
that's not
compliance.
terrible.
There was one superintendent chief who said to me that they had done some calculation in their state, and that for every dollar that went into the classroom in a grant, 47 cents was spent in regulatory compliance. So let's get the money into the hands of our students and
All
our
right.
teachers. Let's raise the level of education.
Wrap it up,
The other
McMahon.
thing
Put
I'll
it-
do,
give
and
it to
I'll put
Caroline.
up for you, is this 50-state tour that I'm have embarked on. We've done about 14 states. We've shut down a little bit during the shutdown. But what I am doing is visiting different kinds of schools, grammar schools, middle schools, high schools, micro schools, private schools, charter schools, the whole gambit. And in the end, my goal will be, as we step away and fully deliver education back to the states, is to provide them with a best practices toolkit of all of the things that I have seen around the country to
I know.
say, hey, this is working. check with
Let's
these
put Caroline
superintendents,
back on.
check with these governors. And you know what I found a little bit is governors are a little competitive. So it's kind of nice to give some of these best practices out there. It'll work because it's already working. If we leave it with the people who are closest to the students, the president believes, as do I, the best education is that's closest to the child, and parents' involvement is critical to the success.
Awesome.
Thank you
Well,
so
thank
much.
you, Linda.
Your
Thank you
pleasure.
so much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate your coming.
All
right,
today.
Caroline.
For your great work.
Whoops.
And
Thank
she's
you all very
Now
much.
watch
busy
this.
lady,
First
so we'll
question,
let her get back
Epstein.
to
It's
work.
got to be.
All right. Thank you again. Well, let's get to it. You
Here we
guys
go.
were so calm with her. I wish you were that calm with me. We'll kick off with our new media seat, as always. Javier, why
Oh,
don't you
new
start us
media.
off,
This
and
could
then
be
we'll
a
get to the
fake
rest of them.
question.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. My name is Javier Negre. I'm from Spain. I'm the owner of the biggest media platform in Hispanic politics with brands like La Derecha Diario, Ida TV, or UH Plus, or Vicegratin in Spanish. And I'm happy to be here. Thanks for supporting the new media, also in the Hispanic community. We try to fight against medias like Telemundo, Univision, CNN, or NBC News that are spreading fake news and attacking the ICE operations. We will premiere
Oh, wow, an
this
ICE
Sunday,
question.
The Real America's Voice, the right news show, the first Hispanic show against communism and
Ah, it
the
already-
culture that is
somebody-
promoted by people like George Soros to bring communism all over the world, like happened in New York. I have two questions for you, if you don't mind. In Mexico, the young people is protesting against President Sheinbaum. They think she's doing nothing against the cartels. Sheinbaum used the police to attack them, young people, kids, girls, and she's attacking journalists like me in a country where 150 journalists have been killed in the past years. The USA legacy media is attacking President Trump for his comments about the fake news media, while they are not publishing anything about the murders of journalists in Mexico. Why do you think they stay silent about the murders of journalists in Mexico and the attacks to businessmen like Ricardo Salinas? And my second question is, Trump said he has a plan for the narco state of Venezuela. Does he have a plan for Mexico where, according to Stephen Miller, the cartels are controlling governments and territories?
Sure. Well, thank you, Javier, for the question, and thank you again for being here. We're proud to have new media voices in the briefing room. As for President Sheinbaum and the president's relationship with Mexico, I will tell you that we have seen historic strides from President Sheinbaum and her administration in Mexico when it comes to cracking down on the cartels. They have been incredibly cooperative with the president's efforts at our southern border to crack down on illegal immigration and also the illegal trafficking of drugs at the southern border. Now the president is very interested in taking additional measures against the drug cartels. He's been very clear about that. He's spoken about it, and this is a promise that he made to the American public. And so his national security team is discussing these options all of the time. And on the campaign trail, the president promised to take on the cartels. He has taken unprecedented action to do so, and he has left additional options at his disposal on the table. So those are only decisions that the president can make. Thank you.
What about the silence of the legacy media about the murders of journalists in Mexico? 150 journalists have been killed in the past years.
Yeah, well, it's certainly something I wish the media would report on more, and it's something that this administration absolutely condemns. I can't speak for the media, but I can speak for the president. That's not something he wants to see. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a crazy question.
Thank you,
I
Caroline.
don't know
Is
what
there
it was.
anything that Mayor-elect Mamdani could say tomorrow that would ease the president's concerns about his future leadership?
Mamdani.
Look, I don't want to speak for the president or get ahead of this meeting that we are currently working on tomorrow. As you saw, the president put out a statement tomorrow that the mayor-elect will be coming to the Oval Office, and so our teams are arranging those details. I won't get into the president's thinking on it. I think you'll all hear from him directly. I also think I will just add, it speaks volumes that tomorrow we have a communist coming to the White House because that's who the Democrat Party elected as the mayor of the largest city in the country. I think it's very telling, but I also think it speaks to the fact that President Trump is willing to meet with anyone and talk to anyone and to try to do what's right on behalf of the American people, whether they live in blue states or red states or blue cities, in a city that's becoming much more left than I think this president ever anticipated in his many years of living in New York himself. Nancy.
Thanks, Caroline. This morning, President Trump accused 6 Democratic lawmakers of seditious behavior punishable by death. Just to
Oh,
be clear,
this is
does
going to be the
president want to
Epstein and
execute
hoax.
members of Congress?
No.
Here we go.
Let's be clear about what the president is
Here we go.
responding to. Because
is gonna
many in
be
this
Epstein
room want to talk about the president's response,
hoax.
but not what brought the president to
Come on,
responding in this way.
Caroline.
You have sitting members of the United States Congress who conspired together to orchestrate a video message to members of the United States military, to active duty service members, to members of the national security apparatus, encouraging them to defy the president's lawful orders. The sanctity of our military rests on the chain of command. And if that chain of command is broken, it can lead to people getting killed. It can lead to chaos. And that's what these members of Congress who swore an
Hold
oath
steady
to,
on Epstein,
to abide
yes.
by the Constitution
There hasn't even been a
are
real
essentially
big question
encouraging.
on
We
it.
have
Yeah,
1.3
I don't know. I
active duty
wouldn't
service
dump,
members
but
in this country. And if they hear this radical
I'll wait to see how low it gets.
from sitting members of Congress, that could inspire chaos and it could incite violence and it certainly could disrupt the chain of command. These three members of Congress, I will also add, knew exactly what they were doing. You look at Alyssa Slotkin. She's a former member of the CIA. Mark Kelly was a captain in the U.S. Navy. Maggie Goodlander was a naval officer, and notably, she is also the wife of Joe Biden's national security former advisor, Jake Sullivan. And so these members knew what they were doing. They were leading into their credentials as former members of our military, as veterans, as former members of the national security apparatus to signal to people serving under this commander-in-chief, Donald Trump, that you can defy him and you can betray your oath of office. That is a very, very dangerous message, and it perhaps is punishable by law. I'm not a lawyer. I'll leave that to the Department of Justice and the Department of War to decide.
But the president has
Chris, go
frequently,
ahead.
but Caroline, can I just follow up? The president and the vice president, for that matter, have accused the other side of encouraging political violence. Isn't that exactly what the president is doing when he says that members of Congress should be killed?
Why aren't you talking about what these members of Congress are doing to encourage and incite violence? They are literally saying to 1.3 million active duty service members not to defy the chain of command, not to follow lawful orders. Every single
Illegal order, which
but
is
they are
illegal
but
from
they're
military
suggesting, Nancy, that the president has given illegal orders, which he has not. Every single order that is given to this United States military by this commander-in-chief and through this chain of command, through the Secretary of War, is lawful. And the courts have proven that. This administration has an unparalleled record at the Supreme Court because
People
we
are hoping for a
following
stupid
the
question
laws.
mentioned.
We
I
don't
know.
defy court orders. We do things by the books.
What's-
And to
no, it's still at
suggest and
7 cents.
encourage
People are just
that
talking about
active
it.
duty service members defy the chain of command is a very dangerous thing for sitting members of Congress to do. And they should be held accountable, and that's what the president wants to see. Phil.
Thank you. Ambassador Mike Huckabee had a meeting with Jonathan Pollard, a former U.S. citizen who was convicted and spent 3 decades in jail for selling state secrets to Israel. Did the White House know that that meeting was going to happen? Does the administration condone it?
The White House was not aware of that meeting, but the president stands by our ambassador, Mike Huckabee, and all that he's doing for the United States and Israel.
Israel
You
mentioned.
said that the president was going to do what was right for U.S. citizens, regardless of whether they lived in blue or red states. I'm curious if there's any chance in tomorrow's meeting with Mayor-elect Mamdani that he will be able to convince the president to abandon that promise to cut off federal funding to New York City.
Look, Phil, we'll see how the meeting goes tomorrow, and I'll let the president speak for himself. Natalie.
Thank you, Caroline. What did the president mean when he called reporter Piggy?
The president is very frank and honest with everyone in this room. You've all seen it yourself. You've all experienced it yourselves, and I think it's one of the many reasons that the American people reelected this president, because of his frankness. And he calls out fake news when he sees it. He gets frustrated with reporters when you lie about him, when you spread fake news about him and his administration. But
Dude.
he also is the most transparent president in history, and he gives all of you in this room, as you all know, unprecedented access. You are in the Oval
Wow,
Office
Epstein
almost
is
every day
tanking.
asking the president questions. And so I think the president being frank and open and honest to your faces rather than hiding behind your backs is frankly a lot more respectful than what you saw in the last administration, where you had a president who lied to your face and then didn't speak to you for weeks and hid upstairs and didn't take your questions. So I think everyone in this room should appreciate the frankness and the openness that you get from President Trump on a near daily basis. Go ahead.
As a follow-up,
Yes.
The
Go
Washington
ahead.
Post just
Go ahead.
reported that the Coast Guard has
I'm
stopped
calling on
considering-
Bloomberg. Go ahead.
Caroline,
Thank you.
thank you. 2 questions for you. The New York Times is reporting that the administration is now sending a U.S. official to the G20. They're sending Mark Dillard. Can you confirm if that is true, and then also explain the shift in?
I'd be happy to explain because there is
Wow.
that shift. The
Is there
United
gonna be
States is
no
not
Epstein
participating
question?
in official
Is
talks
that
at the G20 in
possible?
South Africa. I saw the South African president running his mouth a little bit against the United States and the president of the United States earlier today, and that language is not appreciated by the president or his team. The ambassador or the representative of the embassy in South Africa is simply there to recognize that the United States will
It's
be the
getting
host of
late,
the
man.
G20.
She could
They are
be
receiving
wrapping
that
this
send-off
up.
at the end of the event. They are not there to participate in official talks, despite what
There
the South
could be
African
no
president is
Epstein.
falsely
Are they
claiming.
really
On
not going
Ukraine,
to ask this?
there have been reports
Ukraine question?
that President Zelensky said, he's looking to look at the plan. That there's been reports about the Trump administration proposing a plan. Can you just give an update on where Russia-Ukraine stands, and does the president plan to speak with Zelensky anytime soon, or when can you expect that?
So I'm happy to provide an update. I've seen quite a bit of reporting on the latest
Oh,
with Russia
there
and
is
Ukraine.
Russia.
So let me clarify
I should have just
and
bought
give you
Russia, man.
guys
What am
the
I
truth
doing?
on where it currently stands. President Trump has made it very clear since day one, and even on the campaign trail, that he wants to see this war come to an end. He has grown increasingly frustrated
Epstein's
with both
tanking.
sides of this war, Russia and Ukraine alike, for their refusal to commit to a peace agreement. But nevertheless, the president and his national security team are steadfast in seeing this war come to an end, to end the killing and deliver on the president's promise. Special Envoy Witkoff, that Marco Rubio, have been working on a plan quietly for about the last month. They've been engaging with both sides, Russia and Ukraine, equally to understand what these countries would commit to in order to see a lasting
No
and
freaking
durable
Epstein
peace.
question. I mean,
That's
is
how
that
you
really
get to
going to
a peace
last?
negotiation, right? That's how it worked with Israel, with respect to Israel and Gaza and all of the Arab countries in the Middle East. That's how we accomplished that historic agreement, which the UN, by the way, voted to
Give me
commit
that
to
no
and accept
healthcare.
this week, which was a huge monumental moment. So they have been engaged with both sides. And these talks are continuing. As always, I'm not going to litigate the details of this plan as it's ongoing and it's in flux, but the president supports this plan. It's a good plan
terrorists
for
gonna come?
both Russia and Ukraine, and we believe that it should be acceptable to both sides, and we're working very hard to get it done. And I'll also add, I know Secretary Driscoll did meet with President Zelensky today. We spoke with him. He was very optimistic following that meeting, and so again, we are having good conversations with both sides with respect to ending this war. Sure, go ahead.
Ukraine. You said this is a
Oh,
good
another
plan.
Ukraine question? Is there gonna
according
be
to
no
our
Epstein
sources,
questions?
This proposal demands major concessions
Oh.
from Ukraine and doesn't demand much from Russia. So was Russia
Well, your-
involved in drafting
Your
this?
understanding is wrong. Have you read the full plan? You haven't.
Sources says.
Yes.
So if you can give details, maybe.
You've
to-
read reporting from one side of the war, and so I want you to understand that the administration has talked equally with both sides. You have seen President Trump engage directly with both President Putin and President Zelensky. Likewise, his national security team has as well. In fact, Special Envoy Witkoff and Secretary Rubio met with some of the Ukrainians just in the past week to discuss this very plan. And so just like you saw with respect to Israel and Gaza, we
I know,
are
she is
hearing
getting
out
upset.
both sides of this war to understand what can you commit to end the war. And that's ultimately how we are going to get to an agreeable solution. That's what the president has directed of his team. I know there's a lot of criticism out there and a lot of doubters, but I would just remind you of the historic success that this president and his team accomplished in the Middle East. We believe that is possible with Russia and Ukraine, and we're hoping and working very hard to achieve that. Stephen.
Could you provide a little more context on what to expect tomorrow with the Mamdani meeting? Will it be in the Oval Office?
A
or
Mamdani
is it going to
question.
be
How
open
was
at
no one
least
asking
partially to
about-
the press?
I don't have any more details to read out for you on the meeting quite yet, Stephen. I know it's of great interest to you and the New York Post, but we'll keep, maybe if it opens, we can commit to letting you in. Sure, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. It came up yesterday during a confirmation hearing for the president's pick to lead the CFTC, that the CFTC currently has 0 Democrat commissioners, whereas usually it's had 2 or more. Does the president plan to appoint Democrats to financial regulators like the CFTC and SEC, or does the president feel that there shouldn't be Democrat leadership at those agencies, consistent with the administration's move earlier this year to remove Democrats from the FTC and other agencies?
I'm going to be completely honest. I haven't spoken to the president about the CFTC in quite some time, but I'm happy to check in with our presidential personnel office and see if there's any updates that we can provide you there. Sure.
Thank you, Caroline. Last week on Fox News, President Trump said that we've had a lot of problems with the French. How would you describe the current relationship between France
What are they
and
even
the US?
asking?
The
What are these
relationship
questions?
remains very strong. President Trump speaks quite frequently.
How are they not
with
asking
Emmanuel
anything about
Macron. I
Epstein?
think
What
they have a
about the
good working
fake
relationship.
journalists?
But the president is not shy to point out when he has disagreements with world leaders as well.
This is bizarre.
He's done that with respect to Mr. Macron as well. Deanna, go ahead.
Caroline, there are reports that Qatar is acting as a mediator in the Ukraine peace process. Can you confirm that, and why did the president choose that country?
I'm not going to get into further details other than what I previously shared, which I think was quite a bit of information. Brian?
Thank you, Caroline. 2 questions. We were talking about 4 earlier in this briefing about the president's orders. You were going back and forth about what the ad said and what it didn't say. My first question is
The ad?
The advertisement that the Senate Democrats were featured in. So the first question is, no matter what the order is, it could be to any administration official, military or otherwise, no matter if legal experts might think it's illegal, does the president expect those cabinet members, administration officials to go ahead with those orders regardless of any outside thinking or experts?
The president expects his cabinet officials in the administration to follow the law and to demand accountability and hold people accountable for their dangerous rhetoric. And I would just add that if this were Republican members of Congress who were encouraging members of the military and members of our United States government to defy orders from the president and from the chain of command, this entire room would be up in arms. But instead, it is the other way around, and I think that's quite telling. I'm going to let you all go because the president, excuse me.
Wow.
I appreciate
Epstein
the
total dodge.
the encouragement this morning, but this afternoon. But President Trump is about to meet in minutes with Israeli hostages who this administration freed, and so I'm going to go up to that meeting, and you will hear more about that later. Thank you.
Misquoted Democrats in that video. That's actually not what they said.
Wow. The Epstein dodge. Dude. Not a single Epstein mention. This was at like 96%. How do they not ask about him? That is remarkable. Yeah, I'm sorry, Jack. I probably convinced people not to take no Epstein because I just thought it was such a lock. Holy cow. So if you guys watched my stream, I probably cost you a ton of potential money that you would have bought already on no Epstein. Dang. That is crazy. I wish I got more freaking no illegal alien, no ICE. Canceled it at 42 during the speech towards the end. Wow. Well, at least we weren't on Epstein, yes. My God, imagine. Yeah, really a ton of shit questions. Like, I don't know how they don't ask about everything that just happened. Crazy. Man. Yeah. Leave It's tough, man. That's crazy. I can't believe I didn't buy those 600 shares I saw live, too, on No Tariff. I don't know why I hesitated. Somebody had a stupid 700 share bid on No Tariff up. Our biggest play was no shutdown, but she mentioned it in the open. But then it didn't come up single more time, so we would have held there. But we had some good live buys on, you know, some of these at kind of crazy prices. Man, so much opportunity in that speech that I missed out on. Well, good speech, Leave It. That was a little bit surprising, a little bit not surprising. But, I mean, it's surprising they didn't ask about Epstein. I don't know how that happened. But crazy day.